I feel like it's sad that I have to preface anything that I say ever, but I will preface this by saying I am obviously a lifelong atheist. So when I'm talking about like God and the devil, I'm not talking about it like some literal outer being. It's more a state of mind, right? Like heaven and hell are states that you live in throughout your life. Also, the God and the devil are those inner voices that make you make the decisions that you make. Do you know what I mean? So if you're selling your soul to the devil, for example, then yeah, you are gonna get immensely talented for the wrong reasons, you know. And also, if you've got like gifts granted by God, that means that you are stoic enough to always make the right decisions, but also to follow your heart, right? You know how to do both. So now that I've prefaced this, what I want to talk about is Mozart, Beethoven, Liszt, I think that's how you pronounce it, and Paganini. Because throughout history, people have said that these people sold the soul to the devil or whatever. And I'd just like to sort of give my thoughts on it, since I've started listening to classical music more recently, and I've always played a little bit of keyboard, but I've recently got myself like a full-sized weighted keyboard, which I like to call a piano, but for this video I will refer to it as what it actually is, which is just a shitty piano keyboard. Sorry. So on with the conversation. I believe Bach came before Mozart, right? But we're starting with Mozart because it's as far back as I know anything, right? It's as far back as I've researched. Mozart composed his first piece when he was 5 years old, and he died when he was like 35 years old, which seems to follow the patterns. You know, everybody said that he sold his soul to the devil. I think 5 years old is too young for that. I believe that it would have been his father that did it, because his dad was in control of his life in them early days. You know, he was an extremely talented musician, worked, you know, for the king or the pope or some bullshit like that. And Mozart had a sister as well, and the dad taught them both piano, violin, and all that. Mozart just obviously adopted it more, and throughout his life, he was just like a playboy, right? Or you listen to his music, and it's all just happy trills and things that are gonna make people feel happy, which is great. You want to make people feel happy, don't you? What if they don't deserve to feel happy? You can't just go around making anybody feel happy, because Hitler's out there somewhere. You're making him feel happy. The devil wants that. The devil wants people to just feel happy in whatever situation they're in. He wants them to ignore reality of what's happening to the world and just fixate on their own little lives. They're the devil's choices, and that's what Mozart brought out in people. No matter what they were going through, they could feel happy and dance to his music and fancy him, which he loved, you know, and took full advantage of. And next came Beethoven, who absolutely admired Mozart on a musical level. The problem with a lot of godly people is they're a little bit more naive. They want to see the good in everybody. They see that God is within everybody. And so it's a lot harder for them sort of people to notice that this is an evil person who's going to influence you in a bad direction. Stay away from Mozart. But thankfully, whatever you want to call it, the stars aligned or whatever. When Beethoven went to seek out Mozart, there was an illness in his family that forced him to go back, and so they never met, which I think is a blessing, because they couldn't be more contrasting characters. Where Mozart's music was all just happy trills and make you feel good and you can dance and have sex to it, Beethoven was telling stories that deeply touched your soul. He was making you feel warm when you were down because you felt not quite so alone. But you know, if you were connecting with him, it could also break your heart. You know, it was music that really portrayed what kind of a life he led, where he wouldn't hang around with sluts. He loved women, and he wanted to find one of his own, that, you know, a soul that he could connect with and a woman that he could care for passionately. and they all just turned out to be whores. And I've had the same exact experience. Women, all they care about is they listen to his music and think, yeah, that guy's got good fingers, right? Because all they think about is sex. And then they meet him and they're like, actually, you're a bit ugly and a bit crazy and you smell a bit bad. Yeah, but I've got this brain that a minute ago you said you fell in love with. But no, it's all about my body. And that's why people like me and Beethoven, that's why I relate to him, is because I don't want a woman like that. I stopped looking good intentionally because I do not want to attract that kind of person, because that's of the devil. You want a good woman who sees you for who you are. And if you find one of those, then you'll make the effort and show her the beautiful side of you. You know what I mean? I'll do whatever. Like, if she likes my hair long, stays long. It's for her, right? If I find that woman. But until that point, no, you don't get to get a good looking version of me that you can be horny about if you don't like my soul. And Beethoven saw it the same way. So next comes Paganini, who is an absolute fucking legend, an absolute genius, and bless him, what a shit childhood he had. But it's clearly the devil's music. Everybody can see that. The only person who couldn't see that was Liszt, as far as I can tell. Now, look, Paganini, when he was older and stuff, because of the reputation that he had, because he fully went along with it, and said, yeah, okay, yeah, the devil gave me these powers and whatever. We all know that's not quite how it works, but you get what I mean. He played into that, and back in those days, that was a bit shocking for people. So it took him like 56 years to get like laid to rest. It's an amazing story about what happened after his death. I mean, pretty much everybody he knew in life was already dead by the time this poor bastard got buried, because nobody wanted to go near that body, which is mental. But going back to what I said right at the start, it just proves that, like, it's not like a be all and end all. It's not like some supernatural entity is over them. When he was younger, he just made really terrible choices that when he was older, he came to regret and realized that actually he should have done things a bit differently. He should have maybe set a better example and cared a little bit less about his own personal wealth. But it's too late. You've sold your soul to the devil, and this, you're lucky you didn't die young, but this is your punishment now. You will not find rest for a long time, half a century or more. And then came Liszt, which I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This poor bastard got the reputation of playing the devil's music and shit, mostly because he could take Paganini's violin pieces and turn them into piano pieces. He could play the piano better than anybody had ever played any other instrument ever. But if you look at his soul and you listen to his music tells stories. It's not just fanciful, although there is that element to it, obviously. He was heavily, like, he just allowed anybody to be in his company. Again, I think that's a very godly, I've forgotten the word that I'm looking for. You know what I mean? It's like a godly part of his personality, that he would allow just anybody in his company. And that's, I've always said that the reason that we like films and books and stuff is because it's the only time that good triumphs over evil. Because in reality, evil will always win. It's just got so many more powers. Evil can stab you in the back. Good can never ever stab you in the back. If you're down and disarmed, good has to stop. Good can no longer pursue you at that point. It has you as far as it can take you. You can't ever finish off evil, because that's not good. This is why we need Batman characters like myself, who kind of like tread the line in between. One day I would like to be like the ultimate bastard. Once I've taken out all the other bastards, I don't mind that all the good people look at me and say, you're the problem, because at that point I will be, But that's just the way reality works. Like, it's never going to get to that stage, obviously, but if it ever did, there's never a perfect. So anyway, yeah, it's an interesting story, and I quite like the conversation around it. So if any of you guys want to take part, if you've got anything that you want to add to that, obviously it's just a general overview, isn't it? But I thought maybe there might be somebody out there who wants to discuss it, and nobody in my real life does. They're all bored by this kind of topic. So I'd love to hear from you. Take care.